Actually, did you see what Keisha went?
Back over. She's on bus or so.
Hold on, something clip.
I'm doing great. Thank you. Good to see you both. Yes. Good to see you.
They organize all over the world. She got and last Saturday.
And where did they go?
Last Saturday, yes. You were there?
10,000 people.
Yes.
I was surprised. I was too. They weren't expecting maybe a couple of thousand. Oh, it's a lot of energy out there.
Yes, it is.
A lot of energy. A lot of energy.
Right there.
Buenas tardes, everyone. Good evening. I am as excited to see you as you just showed some excitement for me. So I'm so happy to be here at Catalina High School with all of you. We have a really wonderful evening planned for you. We want to be able to listen to your concerns, that you have an opportunity to ask your questions directly to our elected officials, especially those that represent you in Congress. And many of you are here because your elected official representing you in Congress has not made himself available. So we all felt that it was important to have Congress people and senators listen to you and take your concerns to Congress.
Yes.
As many of you know, my name is Regina Romero. I'm the mayor of the city of Tucson. I am the proud daughter of Jose Romero and Josefina Arbizu, two hard-working Mexican immigrants who taste the food that fed us for many, many years.
Yes.
Let us begin today by grounding ourselves in acknowledging the history of these lands. So we acknowledge that these lands have been stewarded by the Tohono O'odham since time immemorial, and the Vasco Yaqui people who have lived in the Sonoran Desert for thousands of years.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
This is not a political event. This is a town hall.
Yes.
Our elected officials are here to listen and learn from you. Now more than ever, it is important to come together to share our stories and experience with our elected officials, and for them to be available to hear us and to see us in person.
Yes.
Then we expect that elected official will go back to Washington, D.C. with us in mind and in their hearts, so that when it's time to vote, they will vote for what is important to us: good jobs, access to the benefits we have paid for and earned.
Yes.
Frankly, I'm pissed off.
Yes.
In Southern Arizona today, people are living in fear. People are living in fear of ICE, in fear of tariffs, fear of losing our pensions and 401ks, fear of even more restrictions to our fundamental right to abortion and reproductive health care, fear of losing our right to vote, and fear of losing our VA and Medicare.
Wow.
Frankly, reasons are hard.
Yes.
In the past few weeks, Tucson has hosted the Fighting Oligarchy Tour, and thousands more have been protesting at Tesla, at Representative Siscomani's office, and at the hands-off rally. We are showing up and demanding that our voices be heard. We are finding that all around the country, the majority of Americans feel outraged at what Trump and his cronies are doing to our country. Representative Ciscomani claims to protect Medicaid, but he has voted in favor of budgets that would slash it by nearly $1 trillion over the next 10 years. All to protect tax breaks for billionaires like Elon Musk. Representative Ciscomani is a proud member of the Congressional Doge Caucus, whose job is to oversee Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. Rather than providing oversight, Ciscomani is a rubber stamp for the unelected Musk and his agenda that is destructive to the core foundations of our economy and our democracy.
Wow. Yeah.
So now that I got that out, it is my pleasure to introduce to you one of our Arizona representatives charged with a responsibility to fight for all of us. My friend, Congressman Greg Stanton. As a member of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, the Foreign Affairs Committee, and the Select Committee of the U.S. and CDC, Congressman Greg Stanton is leading the charge on public attack against Donald Trump's executive order and holding Republicans accountable.
Why, yes, I would. And I'll be very brief because we have incredibly talented and powerful other panelists, including our friend Senator Booker, who's visiting us. Senator Kelly, who is kicking butt on the one of the greatest Arizonans of all time, someone that we admire so much for her strength and courage, Gabby Giffords. First, I just want to say, I know we're all thinking about him, but just thank God that Governor Shapiro and his family are okay after that horrific fire, arson. They have in that case. That is very good news, and we pray for him and his family. Any political violence is just completely unacceptable in the United States of America. Okay, I'm here. The mayor was kind enough to invite me to come down to Tucson for this very important event. I just want to say this. Too many of our Republican members of Congress are motivated by one thing: fear of Donald Trump. And we are here together to send a message. We might want to change that political calculus. Instead of acting in fear of Donald Trump, you might want to be in fear of the people you represent. So when you vote on a congressional resolution, which we did just last week in Congress, a vote that will require 500,000 of our fellow Americans to be taken off of Medicaid, a vote that will take tens of thousands of your fellow citizens here in AZ06 off SNAP benefits, a vote that will end the clean energy tax credit program in the United States that we voted for in a bipartisan way. You only do that if you're afraid of Donald Trump and afraid of him getting someone to primary you.
Yeah.
That's not a vote you take if you're concerned about the people of your district. That's a very different political calculus. And you don't stay silent when this president and Elon Musk are trying to fire veterans, tens of thousands of veterans who work for the federal government, particularly in the VA. You don't stay silent on the attempt to dismantle the Department of Education or what they're doing to our Social Security Department, putting the future of Social Security at risk. It's not something that you do if you care about supporting Title I schools. We're in a Title I school right now.
Yes.
brought us high school Title I school. It's not, you don't stay silent as the president engages in a tariff policy which represents the highest tax increases, peacetime tax increases in American history. Particularly, we're next door to Mexico right now. It's right just south of us. We need to become close to Mexico as we're competing with China. Our tariff policy is taking our allies and making them closer to China. Totally unacceptable. So we want to change the political calculus. We want Congressman Siscomani and Republicans around this country not to have their top motivating factor fear of Trump, but respecting the people that they represent. That's what this town hall is all about.
Yeah.
Thank you, Congressman Stanton. And what I'll be doing is I'll be introducing most of the speakers. And then once they have a couple of opening remarks, just like Congressman Stanton did right now, then we'll get into the Q&A. Okay, so I am so privileged and honored to introduce to you someone that needs no introduction, former Congresswoman Gabby Gibson. Gabby is a leader who personifies courage. Say a few words.
I've known the darkest of days of pain and uncertain recovery. But confronted by despair, I've summoned hope. Confronted by paralysis and aphasia, I responded with grit and determination. I told America needs all of us to speak out, even when you have to find the words. I'm also in the second fight, the fight to stop gun violence. I'm also in a second fight to stop gun violence. We are at a crossroads. We let the shooting continue, or we can act. We can protect our families, our future. We can vote. We can be on the right side of history. Please join us in this fight. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Bravo.
And our local elected official, it's my honor and pleasure to introduce to you someone that you all know, Pima County Attorney Laura Conover.
Yeah.
Pima County Attorney Laura Conover has taken on cross-serve, trying to take advantage of our seniors, markers to slash homicide and robbery rates, and work to address our national mental health crisis on the ground. She understands that public health goes hand in hand with public safety. Laura, would you like to say a couple of words? Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Tucson.
Good evening.
I love you, old Pueblo.
And I want to say what I want to share with Senator Booker is that if my mama were still here with us, all 4'8" and 84 pounds would be in the front row cheering for Senator Booker. Give him a warm welcome. We're so excited to have him here with us so that he can hear from you, right? You are what is important tonight. You are getting the opportunity to ask questions of your government officials, right? In person, unfiltered, and answering right back to you, because that's the courage and bravery that's required if you run for office.
Yes. Yes.
So in fact, Mama is here with me tonight. I'm wearing her mustard seed, and I feel, yes, thank you. I feel like it's Passover and it's Palm Sunday, and it's a moment in time to recognize that story, that even the mightiest oak was once just a tiny seed. And even one voice becomes so many voices, and then Congress and the Senate and eventually the feds are going to have to listen to you.
Yes. Yes.
And so that is my conclusion, because I'm leaving all of the minutes to you, for you to ask your questions and for you to be heard and seen. And let's welcome next our new Arizona State Democratic Party Chair. It's my honor, Robert Branscomb.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Robert. Yes.
Good evening, Arizona. How are you doing tonight? Good to see that you came out. We had a real interesting conversations, right? Before we get into that, first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Arizona Democratic State Party staff, Pima County, and the University of Arizona Young Dems for helping us put this together. I'm here tonight, and I want you to hear me loud and clear. We see you, we hear you, we're fighting for you, and we're fighting with you. From the borderlands of Douglas and Yuma to the farmlands of Wilcott, all of the sovereign nations whose land that we stand upon, we honor them. To look in your eyes, to shake your hand, and to hear your story, because that is what leadership is. And let me be clear, we fight for all Arizonans, regardless of political party or affiliation, because doing what's right shouldn't depend on who you voted for. Yeah. Now contrast that with Juan's. He talks like a moderator at home, but in Washington, he votes like a MAGA extremist. Yeah. He voted against reproductive rights, against Medicare, against Arizona working families. When it came time to face you, he ran. He phoned it in. Like he was ordering pizza. Because he wasn't brave enough to face you. But we're here. We're here to hear what you have to say. We're here to face you. We're here because we're all Americans. And we need to be all Americans together. Because we're facing a threat that's not unique to any one party, to any one race. We are all Americans, and we believe in our country, and we believe it's worth enough to fight for.
Yeah! Yeah, okay.
Because the future doesn't belong to the loudest extremists, it belongs to the people. The ones who show up, speak up, and stand together. Tonight, our voices will fill this room, but tomorrow, they'll echo through every canyon, every valley, every voting booth across Southern Arizona.
Yes.
We are not just making noise, we're defending our way of life.
Yeah.
For today and for the generations to come. So thank you, God bless you, And let's fight for America because it's worth fighting.
Yeah,
And now I have the distinct honor and pleasure to introduce one of Arizona's heroes.
Yes.
A man who served in the military, who flew numerous missions in combat, and traded in his Tesla. Our hero, our Senator Mark Kelly.
Thank you, Robert. Hello, Tucson. Robert's right. I did create that Tesla. There's some things I actually liked about that car. It was fast like a rocket ship. But after Elon, called me a traitor, I couldn't drive that thing anymore. But we also say, I also had to trade in my rocket ship for this job. And I gotta say, I really love this job. I love representing all of you. And it's great to be here with so many Tucsonians. Especially this Tucsonian. This is Gabby's district. Gabby was born in a hospital not half a mile from here. But it's great all of you guys are here, and to have the mayor here with us, to have Congressman Stanton, our great district attorney, Laura Conover, our new Democratic Party chair, Robert Branscomb. Yeah. And then my great friend and colleague, Cory Booker, who came a long way to be here with all of you. It's great to welcome him back to Tucson. And I'm eager to hear from everybody in this audience today about what is really on your mind. And I know there's a lot. And I also know this has been a very hard, how many days are we into this administration? 78. It's like 80 or 90. It's not even 100. It's like 90 days of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And it's one thing after the next. Now, we just got back from 2 weeks in Washington while our Republican colleagues worked on their budget resolution. And a lot of you, how many people in here are represented by one Siscomani? About half. Well, let me tell you a little bit about their House budget proposal. This proposal would take healthcare coverage and food assistance away from millions of working parents, kids, seniors, people with disabilities. And it would target two of our most critical federally funded programs, Medicaid and SNAP. Now, SNAP is food assistance. When people lose SNAP, kids do not eat. 105,000 Medicaid beneficiaries are at risk of losing their health insurance in Arizona 6 alone. This district, 100,000 people could lose their health care coverage. And for what? It is so Donald Trump could give a big, giant tax cut to the wealthiest Americans. It is not there. Now, let me tell you who's going to lose health care coverage. That's 36% of all children here in this district. It's 46% of moms who just gave birth and their newborn babies. Wow. 46%. Wow. It's 40% of working age adults with disabilities. 53% of people living in nursing homes. 17% of Medicare beneficiaries. How many people are here on Medicare? And 17% of adults between the age of 19 and 64 would lose their health care coverage in this district if Juan Siscomani and the president passed this legislation. So, obviously, Senator Booker, Congressman Stanton and I are really, really concerned about this. this would be a giant slap in the face to the state of Arizona. And it hurts real people. There was a mom in Phoenix last week whose kids are on Medicaid. She adopted kids out of foster care. And when you adopt kids out of foster care, they are on Medicaid for their health insurance. And she told myself and Senator Ruben Gallego that it is like the Republicans are burning down my house and the kids are still inside.
Oh.
That's how she felt.
Wow.
So what can we do about it? Well, we can fight. We can fight back, and we can all collectively understand that elections matter. So I want to first thank you for being here. It is really important that you meet directly with us and tell all of us how you feel about these things. Now, just know that Congressman Stanton and Senator Booker and I have been fighting every bit of the way through this. It has not been easy. By the way, Donald Trump's bad plans extend beyond just Medicaid and SNAP and possibly Social Security. It extends to our position in the world as a leader of the free world, supporting our allies like Ukraine against our adversaries like Russia. I met with Zelensky just before that awful meeting in the Oval Office where Donald Trump seemingly he switched sides on us. Switch sides in a conflict. I got to tell you, if we do not stand with Ukraine and our other European allies, we will be less safe.
Yeah.
I was on the phone with Cindy McCain just yesterday. So Cindy McCain, John McCain's wife. Cindy heads the World Food Program. She was initially the ambassador, now she is the head of the World Food Program, and this administration cut their budget significantly. And I said to Cindy just the other day, I said, Cindy, are there going to be kids starving to death because of these cuts? She said, Mark, it is going to be thousands of children will starve to death, if not tens of thousands of children in places like Sudan and Yemen and Afghanistan are going to starve to death because this administration is trying to save some money, a little bit of money, so their tax cut for billionaires doesn't look as bad. That's what this is all about.
Boo.
Now, Gabby extended, she fought really, really hard during the Obama administration for the Affordable Care Act.
Thank you.
And the Affordable Care Act brought down the cost of health care for so many folks living in our state significantly, so they finally could afford health care. Remember what happened in the first Trump administration? Remember what Donald Trump tried to do? He tried to end the Affordable Care Act. And you know who stopped that from happening?
John
The guy whose Senate seat I now sit in.
Yeah.
The reason I bring that up is Republicans can stand up to Donald Trump. They can. And they have to. And that's why I need all of you to call on our congressman here in this district. Now, Gabby and I were represented. We live on the other side of the line. And we're in Raul Grijalva's district, who was such a great public servant. And do what we best. Well, we can stop this.
Yeah.
And I am really excited to have somebody here who's going to talk to you a little bit about how we organize people to stop bad policy from this administration. Whether it's tariffs, whether it's siding with our adversaries instead of our allies, whether it's cutting Medicare to give Medicaid to give big tax cuts to billionaires. Cory Booker knows how to get things done.
Yes.
I grew up in New Jersey. Cory Booker's from New Jersey. You probably saw Cory just the other day, last week, in fact, giving a 25-hour speech. Now, as an astronaut, one of our challenges is you get in a pressure suit hours and hours before you climb into the rocket ship, and then you're going to be sitting in your seat in the rocket ship on your back, and your kidneys are working overtime. And you got to figure out a way how you're going to manage all this because you're going to be in this suit for like 10 hours, not 25 hours. So he came to me for a little advice. I really couldn't help him because I said, Cory, this is 25 hours you're talking about, not just 10. But I'll tell you, for him to break Strom Thurmond's. Yeah! And I don't know if all of you are aware of this, but Strom Thurmond was filibustering the passage of the civil rights legislation, trying to stop that from happening. So it's only fitting that a guy who just stands up for all Americans all the time in such a powerful way is here with all of us tonight. So I want to welcome my great friend, aesthetic colleague, Cory to the stage. Thank you.
The reality is we're here to center your voices, to center your stories. I was taught as a young man, my parents made it very clear to me that you got to stand up, even if your legs shake, you got to stand up and speak, even though your voice breaks. That in a nation that has always been founded and formed and shaped and bent by the American people, that we know that change doesn't necessarily come from Washington, but it always comes to Washington by the people who make it happen. And so I am blessed. My parents used to tell me, well, why don't you walk around this house like you hit a triple when I was growing up? Even my dad sent me off on a football scholarship. I went to graduate school, law school. My dad's like, you got more degrees in the month of July, but you ain't hot. It might be about the degrees you get, it's about the service you give. And so I want to shift as quickly as possible to you and us answer your questions. I do want to have a rebuttal. A couple things. First of all, Gabby Giffords is one of the most amazing heroes of life. And I know years back that she was in the market for a bald guy from Jersey. I would have stepped up. You know, come on. You did not advertise well. You didn't have the broad neck. You were the first Jersey boy to get old. I know, yeah, he's a good one. He's off his eye, as they say in Jersey. But let me tell you something about Brother Kelly. I know he's from Jersey, but if you cut him, he bleeds Arizona. That's right. And the reality is, he knows how angry I am because every time I walk through Newark Airport, this is not a joke. There's this big poster of him because I am New Jersey senator when he is at the New Jersey Hall of Fame. Hero, so I'm grateful to be here. The congressman and I wore the same shoes because I know how hardworking this guy is. I feel blessed by him and his partnership and his friendship. He blew me away that during those 25 hours, he came over to the floor of the United States Senate to stand there with me and to carry me through. This again, back on you. I stood for 25 hours, but everybody in this room knows people like I do. Those people that work at a diner, we have a lot of 24-hour diners in Jersey that carry 2 to 8 hour shifts. And if they can get somebody to look after their kids, they sometimes take a third shift on their feet. Yeah. We all go to hospitals, and we know that many of the people working there, these healthcare professionals, often doing the most unglamorous jobs. Sometimes they're on their feet working a full shift. In the back here, we've got firefighters and police officers who are so kind. I know this mayor, as a former mayor, Well, Mayor, I know that many of them are held over, many of them do long days on the job. They stand for more than 24 hours. Today is a time in America where we need to ask the question, who do we stand for? I'm so happy to see everybody here, but you all know there's a lot of folks on this Sunday that can't be here because they're working for their family, because they're struggling with a disability. We have to decide at this moral moment in America how we will stand. And I believe that I'm in a room full of not Democrats or Republicans, because this is not right or wrong. It's not right or left, excuse me, it's right or wrong. I'm in a room full of people who, first and foremost, who love their families and are willing, as patriots, to stand for America. So let's get started.
Yeah. Bravo.
Not that tall. Welcome to Tucson, Senator Booker. We're so happy to have you here with us.
Bravo.
So we're going to start with the Q&A. We're going to try and move quickly through the questions that we're going to ask my colleagues on the stage. If you definitely feel inclined to answer, we're going to try and keep it to a couple of you or three at the most to make sure that we make room for as many questions as possible. What we're going to do is that we have runners on the floor. Can I get let's see. All right, so we have runners with microphones. All right, we're going to do the storytellers first. I've been told. We have a couple of storytellers with us that will grab one of the mics. Let's see. Don't have the names. Let's see. So I'm here, George Beverly. George Beverly. We're gonna get the mic to you, George. So we have a couple of storytellers today, and then we'll start with the Q&A.
That literally is a mic runner. He sprint over there.
Hello, thank you for coming to Tucson. Really appreciate all of you guys taking the time. My name is George Beverly Jr.
Hey, George, could you step out of the shadows? I can't. I mean, if I had that much hair, I want people to see it.
They call me Black Man. That's right. My name is George Beverly Jr. I'm a medically retired veteran, 17 and a half years in the military. There's three things I'm going to talk about. One is DEI, the second one is the VA, and the third one is immigration. All this happened during my time in the service. And I love America. I grew up in Louisiana when David Duke ran for the governor. So racism plays a huge part of my life. The military was great, but as a veteran, it's not so great. I live in silence. I suffer in silence. It takes me every fiber of my being to get out of my house. I was in an IED explosion. I lost 7 soldiers. I almost died. April 29th, 2004. We're the first unit to get extended. And why am I saying that? I'm saying that because I have a TBI, I have PTSD. Not only do I have military trauma, but I have racial trauma. So if I go to the VA, a white doctor won't understand the pain that I'm going through. How do I know this? Because Donald Trump is telling them that DEI is just a figment of people's imagination. The color matters. Your culture matters. It is who you are.
Yeah.
So I'm seeking help with the VA, and I have not been able to seek help because I don't feel comfortable talking to a white psychiatrist because it doesn't do much. They can't empathize or sympathize, but they don't know what I go through. They don't walk in my shoes. I have a mixed family. My wife, my beautiful wife, she's half Mexican and Norwegian. And so we have an array of families. So let me get to my point about the VA. The VA, I have family members who work for the VA and scared to death. Veteran, major, she was a major, working for the Department of the VA, and she cannot fathom what she needs to do in order to keep her life going. And guess what? She hasn't even claimed her benefits yet. Now he's cutting people back from the benefits, and we have people that are suffering right now who can't get any medical help because the VAs they haven't been approved. I'll move on to immigration. I'll do my last thing. I appreciate your time for allowing me to speak. Immigration. The second time my unit deployed, I was rear detachment commander, and I had a soldier. He was in my section, and his name was Specialist Mendoza. And a lot of people may not know this, but if you are a green card holder or a permanent resident, you can join the military and gain your citizenship. But guess what happened to him? It was at the end of his 4 years, and he said, Sergeant Beverly, I'm afraid I'm about to get out of the Army and I don't have my citizenship. So I had to go to Luxembourg, to the consulate, to help this man get his citizenship. I don't know the details of it, but we can't just talk about immigration within our walls, but we have to talk about immigration within our military. He's trying to get rid of the LGBT community. He's trying to get rid of Black people in the military. So DEI is important. The VA is important. And immigration is important. So I thank you for your time.
I just consulted, stay right there, because I just consulted with my senator colleague. I'm going to take the DEI question. He's going to take one, and the congressman's going to take one of the others, VA and immigration. Okay, so I'm going to go really quickly because my goal with the three of them is to be really a good answer, but also a short answer so we can get to other questions. Let me just say this really quick. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I never thought in my life I would be arguing about those three words. I never did I think that I would see a nation where a president would on one hand brag about merit and then hire some of the most unqualified people. People that are diverse. So I want to be very clear with you. Our history matters, and what this president is trying to do, which is trying to homogenize, Disneyify, whitewash, erase our history, cheapens the American story on the strength of who we are. We have a great history in our country, not despite all the wretchedness and discrimination. We have a great history because we've overcome that and have done such a strong job in doing it.
Yes.
So to take people like Jackie Robinson off of the military's website is such an insult to all Americans, to our history, and weakens and undermines who we are. So I want you to know that this is what we stand for, this is what we fight for. And when it comes to having the kind of mental health care that you deserve, having somebody that is culturally appropriate that understands that is something that the psychological profession knows and understands clearly. What you're asking for is not outrageous. And so I am grateful to tell you right now, we must reclaim our history from those who want to try to erase it. We must stop people that are banning books from libraries, changing the history, and that are undermining the truth of America is we are a phenomenal team, and we need to make sure that we bring more of the great team, Team America, onto the field to participate, play, so that we can put points on the board for our country.
Yeah.
So George, I just want to make sure you reach out to my office. Chloe over here is going to get you some contact info to see if we can help you. I've got somebody in my office that can help with Veterans Affairs issues, including your VA healthcare. She'll come around, she'll give you some contact info to reach out to. And I would say about your friend in the military, this is a problem. This administration has deported service members, folks who had served this country, and now they've been kicked out of our country. It's wrong, and we're fighting back.
Thank you.
The only thing I'll add to that is, George, thank you for your service, of course, and in addition to what the senator just said about Jackie Robinson in Arizona, it has been so offensive that the Defense Department took down from their website the pages about the Navajo code talk. And I was amazed. Cory and our Native American warriors that have fought so bravely for this country. And as you have pointed out, what they're doing to try to kick out diverse members of our military, our trans women and men who are fighting for the military, willing to risk their lives for our fellow Americans, deserve to stay. And on the immigration issue, as Senator Kelly just said, it is so frustrating that our Republican friends want to talk about border security, and we all agree there needs to be appropriate border security, but there also needs to be pathways for people to come to the United States so we can grow our economy and have the strongest economy on earth. But the other side has gone so far anti-immigrant, they won't even fight so that we can ensure that our people who have served us in the military, risked their lives, have a chance to stay and have a path to citizenship here in the United States. In fact, they vote against every possible the only pathway that's been proposed that I can tell is the gold card by Trump, which is $5 million to get a pathway. It is totally self-defeating that we have allowed ourselves to be so far one way that the Republicans won't even have any policies that will move us in a stronger economic direction for our country. George, thank you for your service.
Bravo, thank you.
Well, thank you for being here and hearing our concerns since Melanie won't give us the time today. I was born to hard-working immigrant parents, and I'm a Mexican-American citizen. I joined the United States Air Force at the age of 18. Women actually have to do a man's job. To prove that we can do a man's job, I had to carry a 50-pound toolbox across the flight line to prove that I could still do a man's job. So and there was lots of other things like that. You know, after my duty, I worked in 5 VA hospitals, taking care of the patients that came back to us after, the wreckage of war. And we were always critically understaffed, but we did the best we could with what we had. And we took care of our veterans. And while I was doing that in 5 different VA hospitals, I was a military spouse for another 20 years. So veterans like me were promised care, and the attacks on these programs are a betrayal to our service.
Yes.
Veterans, I was just at a retreat talking to these deported veterans and hearing their stories and hearing the horrific conditions that they have had to live to and go back to countries that they never lived in. So it's a real problem. But the savings that I have had for being my entire life working and saving, that money is evaporating just for the sake of market manipulation for wealthy people to make more money. The American dream is what I was told and what I believed. But, it's really hard to live with this reality that the American dream is not for people like me. I was told that if I worked hard and I assimilated, I would succeed. But is it just for the rich, or is it not for people like me? A minority, a woman, a veteran, a senior, and now a cancer patient. What are we going to do to protect the services that I work for, that I thought was my entitled work that I had put in Social Security and Medicare. Is the cruelty the point, or for people like me? Thank you, I'm sorry, I'm so a little emotional.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you.
What was your name? Sylvia. Sylvia, thank you. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your service in the United States Air Force. I was in the Navy, but we like the Air Force too. I think the American dream was supposed to be for everybody. I think unfortunately with this administration and many of the Republicans in the United States Congress, it's become more about how do you reward donors that donated to their campaigns, folks with a lot of money, folks like Elon Musk and other billionaires who support so many members who have been elected to the United States Congress, to the House and the Senate. So it had become more about the wealthy and less about regular folks. But we can beat them. Don't be defeatist about this. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Because the reality of the situation is there are more of us than there are of them. Now, we just got to convince some of our fellow Americans who have been voting for them that it's not in their best interest to do that. It just isn't. When you have an administration that is looking out for the wealthiest and not folks that are working so hard every single day to put food on the table and pay their rent, that's not a path for success for our country. It's not sustainable. We need a country where where people can, have one job, not have to work like Cory talked about, 2 shifts in a 24-hour diner. So thank you for being here. This really does matter and it makes a difference. And when we do this the next time, I know we cut it off when people were trying to sign up for this, but if we get a bigger venue and a bigger venue after that, by the time we get to the next election, we can win this seat here in this district.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
We can win races up and down the ballot.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your stories. Really appreciate it, Steve and George. We selected some questions so that we can start it off and then we'll open it up if possible. We did see one question. We're going to start with this question. It doesn't have a name, but we felt that this question could be responded to or answered by former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. And the question is this: gun violence is the #1 killer of children in the U.S. When will Congress stand up for our children and enact common sense gun laws?
Be a leader, set an example. Be passionate, be courageous, be your best.
The first question is from Kathy Freeman. Kathy Freeman. Just get up and, okay? We're taking the microphone your way. If you want to, Kathy, we can take your questions. You can read it, or you can start us off.
Yeah, I would be glad to read it. Remind me what I said. Okay, what are you doing to protect my daughter's Medicaid, please? There's families out here that are terrified, absolutely terrified, and I would just love to know your plan. Any one of you.
Before you answer, the next question is from Rebecca Wells, and I'll take this. Just raise your hand and we'll take this to you. All right, go ahead.
Okay, I could jump in first. What is being proposed right now through the budget resolution is tragically the largest proposed cut to Medicaid in the program's history. and it will result in tens of millions of Americans losing their coverage, losing the ability to see their primary care physician. We know it will inevitably result in many healthcare facilities shutting down, particularly in rural communities across America. Here in Arizona, at a minimum, over 500,000 of our fellow Arizonans would lose healthcare coverage. First thing we got to do, that's devastating information, obviously. First thing, we got to let America know this is happening. America has to believe that this is real, is what exactly is going across Congress right now. And no matter how many times moderate Republicans like to go on television and say, we're not voting on Medicaid cuts. Hell yeah, you are. That's exactly what we did vote on just this past week with the budget resolution. And as I mentioned, it's so clear. In order to get the extreme right-wingers to vote for the budget resolution, there was a specific memo from the White House committing that there was going to be these massive Medicaid cuts. We have to make this real for the American people. And members of Congress, including the representative from this very area, need to understand that if they vote to cut off health care for over 100,000 Arizona 06 residents, you ain't winning your next election. You're going down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes.
We know that because I got elected in the class of 2018, where we were the majority makers. And the number one reason that I was elected, and over 40 of my colleagues were elected to give us a large majority at the time, is because we fought for the program that Gabby Giffords risked her political career for, and that was the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. That was the number one. So this ain't hypothetical. So they need to be more afraid of the people of the district knowing that they lose their health care, you're going down, rather than threats and bullying from Donald Trump. We need to change that political calculation. And when we do, not if we do, when we do, these Republicans are going to get a backbone and stand up to Trump and protect his most important healthcare program.
Yes.
And we think one of the best things that you can do is make sure that you're submitting your concerns to your representative in Congress. They have to have a form, email, you can call. It's important that you voice your concern to your elected representative. Our next question.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Wells. Thank you guys for coming. I am curious. I'm looking for practical advice. I'm disabled. My husband is also can't work and is applying for disability. I'm on Medicaid. He's on Medicaid. I'm on Medicare. My kids are on Medicaid. What should we be doing? What can we do besides, I waited in line to come here today. We saw AOC and Bernie when they came. We don't have money to make, our money work for us, but what can we be doing to help?
First of all, thank you for your courage. I get very moved when folks who are being directly impacted by the threatening actions of this president and this Congress don't just come to say, hey, this is happening to me, but they ask that powerful question, what can I do? What can I do? I'm ready to fight, I'm ready to work, I want to hear your pragmatic suggestions. And so I want to just tell you the reality we have right now. We have a Congress where there are enough votes on the Republican side to pass the greatest attack on healthcare of our lifetimes. And they're doing that, as the congressman said. We know their bill. We know it instructs a specific committee to cut $880 billion. And the only place to do that really is Medicaid or Medicare. So we know the threat. This is what I have learned all my life. Every moment that is like this, when you're talking about healthcare, to me, it is the very character of our country. I still don't think we're living up to who we are as the wealthiest nation in the world. It still has people every year going bankrupt because they can't afford their medical bills. But instead of going forward, figuring out how we can expand access to care, This is that threat to pull it away. This is indeed, as I said earlier, a moral moment. Now, at other moral moments in America, they didn't make one Congress. I know we didn't get suffrage in this nation because a bunch of men on the Senate floor put their hands in and said, okay, fellas, let's give women the right to vote. Trust me, as I mentioned earlier, we didn't get civil rights in this nation because a strong Thurman came to the Senate floor one day and said, I've seen the lie. Let those Negro people have the right to vote. All of that changed, including the 2017 profound vote of Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and a man from Arizona named John McCain. I would love to tell you, love to be able to tell you that somehow it was my eloquence and persuasiveness that convinced John McCain to change his mind and vote against that. It was not. It was the American people. And so we have 3 House members that are Republicans that have to change their mind. Just 3. I believe one of them has to be in this district right here. Right. Either he changes his mind or this district changes constitution.
Yeah.
It's simple as that.
Yeah.
I am not for a party call. I'm for a moral one. Who will step up like John McCain and do the right thing? Right. On the Senate side, it's 4 senators. There's a little bit of a higher bar, but we've already seen some cracks in that when this horrific Trump tariffs that he's doing, 4 Republicans stepped forward with us to stop them from putting tariffs on Canada. Unfortunately, went nowhere in the House. And so when you ask me what to do, this is the time for us to put inordinate pressure in all kind of peaceful, nonviolent ways, call to the moral conscience of the very people that have your healthcare, have our healthcare systems in their hands. And one of them is in this district. One of them, I think, is in New Jersey as well. We have to show once again, like every generation has, that the power of the people is greater than the people in power.
Yeah!
We're going to read 2 names, and we'll get our runners. Susan Burkhart. Susan, raise your hand. There she is. And then the next person that will ask a question is Ramona Hensrud.
Ramona's got a cheering section. Ramona, we might run you for Congress.
Susan and then Ramona.
Okay, I'm not sure I need a microphone on. My coworkers say I'm a very loud talker, so I'll try not to talk too loud. I was a government worker in Michigan, and now more than 20 years in Arizona. I've been a civil servant for years. I'm eligible to start, if I take early Social Security, it'll be next year. I'm about to retire and take a part-time job anyway because I feel my job, I can't say what it is, but it's very stressful, and I feel like if Social Security is going away, I'm not going to keep doing what I'm doing now until I die. But my daughter here is about to get her master's degree in social work. She's 23. I'm worried about Social Security, just basically that there's more going out than there is, coming in. And I would just like an honest answer and not just, a talking point of we have to save Social Security. Is it viable? Can Social Security actually last, or do we need to be talking about coming up, with a new plan? Is she going to lose all her money if she puts into Social Security?
During COVID, I delivered Meals on Wheels, and I met so many seniors that rely on those meals and just Social Security as their only source of income in retirement. And to think that we've got the second most powerful person in the government right now, Elon Musk, calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, it does really worry me, and I am concerned. I don't think it's out of the question that this administration could launch an assault on Social Security. They're talking about Medicaid, Medicare as well. So I would say it's not out of the question. But I do know this, that, you know, historically, the wealthiest members of our society, the richest Americans, used to pay a lot more in taxes than they do now. If we had a tax system where the billionaires paid more in income tax, we could make programs like Social Security solvent for the long term. Now, you want an honest answer. We've got issues with, as baby, I'm a baby boomer. Are you a baby boomer? I'm the last year of the baby boom generation. I'm probably the only one on the, no, okay. Robert too. I was gonna say I'm the only one on the stage, but there's two of us for the last year of the baby boom. And so there's a bump in that where the accounting gets kind of challenging. But if we required the richest Americans to pay a little bit more, billionaires could still be billionaires, and they can pay their fair share.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to add one thing, and that is there's a discussion about whether Social Security may be cut. Let me say something. Right now, they are closing Social Security offices all across the United States of America. They are firing, illegally in my opinion, that's going to be tested in court, but they are firing a huge percentage of people working in Social Security, public servants like yourself who committed their lives to this system. They're cutting off the number of customer service people that'll take questions over the phone, requiring that people show up in person to receive benefits, or if they need to change their bank accounts, we're going to make it as difficult as possible for people to receive these earned benefits. If that ain't a cut, I don't know what is. We are already facing cuts of Social Security, and that is a huge part of what this fight is all about. And for public service workers like yourself, I'll tell you something with this guy Trump. He thinks he's a king. He thinks that he can hire or fire anyone in the executive branch anytime for any reason, even if they're part of a collective bargaining agreement, which is a contract, or no matter what civil service protections they have. He is dead wrong about that. Our government workers have to be protected for a reason. They're going to be respected, and that's part of what there's 160 plus lawsuits going on right now because of this presidential overreach, because this guy wants to be an authoritarian or a king. We're winning almost all of them when there are our court decisions. But the protection of our government workers who have committed their lives to public service, that could have been making more money doing other things, at least they have civil service protection or collective bargaining agreement. That is a fight worth having.
And I want to add that given Congressman Stanton's comments there, we are already getting reports that checks are arriving late. That's really critical evidence when we're going into court. The Attorney General's office has a form, the Pima County Attorney's office has a form. If your checks are arriving late, you need to report that in, and then that's likely to go into litigation later.
So before Ramona asks a question, Ramona, we're all waiting to hear your question. I'd like to invite Mike close. If you could raise your hand, there you go, you're there next. The next question.
Okay, hi, I do live in the 6th district. And a few of us had a very extraordinary opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. just a few days ago. And we were in Cisco Monte's office, and we got to speak to his chief of staff. And we mentioned the same kinds of concerns. We all had the same concerns about Medicaid and the cuts to Medicaid. The answer that I thought was unbelievable, and I didn't really have a chance to follow up, was they pretty much said, Well, if anybody does lose their benefits, they can call our district office. And that's what they're telling us. We went all the way to Washington DC, and that's the kind of answer we get, which was totally ridiculous. So my question, which you've already addressed, is how can we change Ciscomani's vote on Medicare or Medicaid? And what's the deadline here? When is this, you think, is gonna be voted on?
Ramona, well, thank you for going to Washington. It really does matter. I first learned how much advocacy like what you're doing, going to Washington when Gabby was in Congress, and I'd see her there sometimes, happen to be there on a Monday morning. She'd walk in and she would say, what are people calling about? What are they coming into the office to talk to all of you about or to see her about? What are the issues that they care about right now? It really does have an impact. And even though you might not have gotten a good answer from them, and I think that answer really sucks, it's really a horrible answer. Once you get kicked off, they're going to listen to you. And they're not going to be able to get you back on if Elon Musk. The problem we face here in Arizona, if they just take the federal match from 90% to 80%, then the expansion population gets kicked off automatically. And that's upwards of about 390,000 people will lose their Medicaid, their health insurance, just by a little bit of a cut. So, I don't think they're being very transparent with you about, how risky this is of actually happening. And to give you a timeline when this could happen, well, the Senate's not back into session for 3 weeks. They've got to work out the details. I would say in the next, 2 months or so, we're likely to have votes again on the real budget, not the resolution, but the real plan. And the plan, the resolution instructs that committee, Energy and Commerce in the House, to find $880 billion worth of cuts. The only place they can find that amount from is Medicaid, Medicare, or both. What they're talking about is cutting Medicaid. So they plan to do this. Now, I think Congressman Ciscomani is saying, well, we haven't done it yet, or we don't really plan to do this. They're kicking the can down the road here as long as they possibly can until they take the vote. And then what they're going to tell you after they take the vote is we're just cutting waste. Well, 400,000 people in Arizona that were part of the expansion population are not waste. They're real people. They're that little kid I mentioned who is in that house, and her mom says they're burning it down. Those are the real people. So keep coming. Put them on the spot. Show up at events. Get involved.
Thank you. So, I just want to use this at the moment to pull the aperture back even further. I'm one of these people in America that thinks we've gotten to too deep of a tribalism in our country, where we don't listen to each other, we don't talk to each other. We're proud to serve with your congressperson. If you look on the Senate floor and you want to see where Mark Kelly stands, you'll see him on our side. He and I sit in the back row, but you also see him on the other side of the floor, engaging with people. Unless we talk to people, unless we understand each other's shared humanity, unless we understand our common cause, we're never going to be able to build a great America. So I want to say that to let you know that this is coming from some reflexive, tribalistic, partisan view of mine. I'm really one of these people that knows no side has a monopoly on the truth, that we, and more than ever, need to put more indivisible back into this one nation under God. Okay. I said I wanted to pull the lens back because our government was designed to be a government of checks and balances. That no branch of the government is dominant over the others. That there's accountability. And the reason why I want to bring that up, Ramona, with your question is because, yes, we are talking about Medicaid and Medicare cuts that are unimaginable, and we need to stop them from doing it. But I want to sound an alarm. We are not in normal times in America. And I say that because the Republicans who are in control of the House and the Senate have abdicated their constitutional responsibilities to check the presidency. to provide oversight for the presidency. We are seeing things that Mark and I have relationships on the other side. Here are Republican colleagues willing to talk to us in private circles about how utterly outrageous what Donald Trump is doing. We have not in the Senate had oversight hearings on a tariff plan, and I say plan very loosely. There is no strategy here. There is no science. There's no economic theory. This is a president that's causing chaos, that's caving, then going back. We haven't had one oversight hearing on what is perhaps the most galling national security intelligence break, Signalgate. That is so outrageous that both sides should say, we need some accountability here. We need questions answered. Is this the pattern of practice that you've been communicating more than just in this instance? Let me continue. We have the wealthiest man on the planet Earth who has significant investments in the government. His fortune has been made in large part because of government agencies. He was under investigation by multiple government agencies. And he has already gone through and cut the very people that provide the investigations and the accountability like inspector generals over him. And we have not called this man in for one hearing in the Senate to ask common sense questions. What are you doing with the private information that you're scraping out of these agencies of the American people? What are you doing with your access?
Yes.
What are your possibilities? I have never witnessed in my life such an assault on the very ideals of our government that our founders wrote about in the Federalist Papers. This is not normal. This is wrong. And so we now have to take it upon ourselves, not just to defend the people when it comes to Medicare, but step back and think to ourselves, how much longer will we let this go on before our democracy moves further and further? We are in a crisis. This is not normal, and it will continue until it is set with the ban.
Not normal. Not normal. Stop it.
Congressman. By the way, it's always funny to me when I'm at a grocery store, I'm sure you have the same experience, and someone says to me, hey, I'm coming to Washington. I hope I have time to come to your office and talk to you. I'm like, well, sure, but I'm sitting right here at the vegetable aisle. I'm talking to you right now. Right here. Let's go get a cup of coffee. Come to my district office. You shouldn't have to come to Washington, D.C. to have a conversation with your Congress member. You can do it right here in your own hometown. But another point I want to make is this. You know, these Republicans, their silence is deafening on so many issues. Here in Tucson, you have one of the great research universities in the United States of America, right down the street. And this president has unilaterally and illegally cut research money because he wants to bully these universities, cancer research and other. This is why the United States is the best at basic science in the world. We're the leaders in these areas because of these great universities. If you represent AZ06, you're not willing to defend the University of Arizona, what are you doing? Maybe the most vile thing that we have seen from this administration is, you know, the senator mentioned, of course, checks and balances, and how we are getting out of balance. And it's not a Republican or Democrat thing. When he's stealing that power from Congress, he's not stealing from Democrats. He's stealing from Republicans. They're the majority. He's taking their power away too, and they're staying silent. But when there are these lawsuits by these wonderful outside groups, the attorneys general that are doing it, and he loses, instead of doing what you should do if you don't like the decision is appeal, he's to impeach judges. And our Republican colleagues are staying silent on such a vile, anti-democratic act. They need to use not only their votes, although they should be, but one of the things you're blessed with when you were in elected office, you got a bully pulpit. They need to start using that bully pulpit to speak up and challenge this president that wants to be in a court.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
If you have mic close, asking this question next, if we can get him a mic. Before you ask your question, Mike, we're going to call up Victoria Watson. Go ahead.
This is kind of repeating what some other people have said, but you know, we go to the Tesla protests and we come to these events. I go to DC for the hands off. It just doesn't seem like enough. I mean, you're pissed, I'm pissed, we're all pissed. And we come here and we talk, but there doesn't seem to be anything really meaningful that we can do.
Well, Mike, thank you especially for going to the Tesla protest. It is very meaningful. When the president and Republican members of Congress see these protests popping up all over the country, they know that they're heading down the wrong path. And whether it's tariffs or our foreign policy or cuts to Medicaid and Medicare and threats to Social Security, they know that the American people are not happy about this. The big question is, at what point do they feel it's going to affect their electoral success in the next election? I'm not so sure they're there yet. The president he built a base of support that in some ways I think is kind of unprecedented with the support of the Republican Party, the base of the Republican Party behind one guy. But well, let me just say, political gravity is a real thing. I know a little bit about gravity. And political gravity is a real thing. Gravity is going to increase on this guy. He is going to become less popular because his policies are not popular. And as he becomes less popular, as he drops down into the low 40s in approval rating, and then into the 30s, the Republicans in the House and the Senate are going to start to distance themselves from him. And they'll start to speak up, and they will get off the sidelines. So many of them are just sitting on the sidelines. They'll tell Senator Booker and I stuff in private they would never say in public about him. And what you're doing, showing up at these events, has a huge impact. So please don't stop. And talk about these issues. I think it was Susan, or it was Ramona, I think it was Susan was talking about Medicaid. I think it's important for folks to know here that we don't have multiple different healthcare systems in the state of Arizona. There's not a healthcare system for people on Medicaid, and another one for people on Medicare, and another one for private insurance or private payer. It's all the same system, and the foundation of that system in the state of Arizona and in other states is Medicaid. If we kick 400,000 people off of Medicaid, hospitals like TMC, where Gabby was born, and our grandkid was born in TMC, or Banner, they lose a significant amount of revenue, but they don't lose the patients. They just stop getting paid for them. But they have to lay off staff, and they have to cut expenses. And what that will do, it will collapse the rest of the healthcare system. So it doesn't matter if you're on Medicaid or not. You should be against these Medicaid cuts.
Correct.
Because regardless of who you are, they're going to affect you.
Yeah. Wow.
So I can help but one could just say to you, they want you to feel powerless.
Right.
They want to overwhelm you. They want to make you think that you can't stop this. They want you to make that you think that you are ultimately incapable of stopping their power and their might. But I want to tell you this right now.
No, I'm sorry. We'll let you speak if you want to speak. But if you don't sit down, we're going to have to bring you out. You will have to leave, ma'am.
And you don't care that our families are dying, that they're being killed, that they're being
Alrighty.
literally burned in
We
their
totally
fucking
understand
houses.
you.
Not
We
that
understand.
literally
You're going to
burned.
have to leave
That
now.
we have our babies literally beheaded. Literally no health care because Israel lost 700 different.
You made your point, ma'am. You made your point. You're going to have to leave. You are going to have to leave.
Why are you saying that we should be protesting?
You made your point, ma'am.
You're doing this to stand up when you want to stand up for our families. In the absolute most horrific ways possible. You are liars.
Victoria.
So,
We do care. What is happening in the world is horrific, and we have to.
if I may,
Go ahead, Senator.
if I may, a couple things. First of all, I applaud what she did. There are veterans here. There are veterans here that fought for the right for free speech. Fought for the right to protest.
That's right.
And this is the traditions from which we come. When did the protesters around the abolitionist movement, were they successful? Which one was the one that stopped? But those noble people who stood up and said, this is wrong, they eventually together made a difference. In the suffrage movement, in the civil rights movement, I hear their voices. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, but she kept fighting.
Yes.
And so I'm telling you right now, I have seen movements come. When we fought against the healthcare cuts that they wanted to stop, they wanted to tear down the Affordable Care Act, affecting 20 million people. It was a slow growing movement. When he started, the actual approval rating of the Affordable Care Act was underwater. By the time John McCain took that vote, the people spoke up, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and they had moved it to be so popular and so demanded for by the people that politicians had to respond. Do not let them in any way make you believe that you showing up to forums like this, to forums like, we've got to do this more in New Jersey, the Tesla protests, that doesn't matter. And I want you to know, just again, the last thing I'll say, Mark has heard this story. There was a white guy on a couch in 1965 watching TV, and he saw these marchers in 1965, in March of 65, trying to get across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And he was so upset about what was going on after seeing them brutally beaten for Bloody Sunday, that this guy thought he was going to go to Alabama, but he's a lawyer in a law firm. He couldn't afford to do it and sat back on the couch. But then he decided, I'm not going to let my inability to do everything to undermine my determination to do something. This is 65, years before the 1968 Fair Housing Act. He started deciding that I'm going to work more pro bono work with the Fair Housing Council of Northern New Jersey. And he started getting pretty good with helping them take black families denied housing in large areas of the wealthy affluent suburbs of New Jersey, representing them, sending white couples behind them. When they were told the house was sold, the black couple would leave, and the white couple would come and find out it was still for sale. They exposed it, they brought public attention and the like. And finally in 68, the law was passed, and now he was on the right side of the law. But let me tell you something. One of the families he represented in a very dramatic way, they were denied housing. White couple found the house was still for sale. They put a bid on the house for the black family. The day of the closing, the white family didn't show up. The black father did, and a volunteer lawyer, the real estate agent, saw that he was caught in this and stood up so angry that this guy exposed what he was doing. He punched the lawyer in the face and sicked the dog on the black man. Well, the black man fought off the Doberman Pinscher. There was a lot of violence in the area, but they left. They wrote letters back and forth. The media found out. The owners of the house were so embarrassed, they sold the house to the black family, and they moved into the town. First black family ever to integrate this large area of northern New Jersey. And then 43 years later, the baby in that family goes to be America's 4th Black person ever elected to the United States Senate.
Oh, wow.
I am here because one person on the couch during a moral moment didn't just sit there and got up and witch hunt. Do not underestimate every single day. No person standing up for a cause of justice is ever doing anything in vain. It makes more of a difference than you realize.
Question, but Laura Burkhardt will be the last question, and then we're going to be do a round of closing arguments. So Laura Burkhardt, just raise your hand. We can find you. We'll take the mic to you. Victoria.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria Watson. I'm the current secretary at the University of Arizona College Democrats. Young people who advocate and organize for everyone going out at the university right now. And right now our university president is not protecting the students. My question today is for the leaders in front of me that we consider leaders not only within the state of Arizona or within the Senate or Congress itself, but leaders within your party. Because we are people who look up to you, who actively are organizing, that way you can make sure that people can hear what they're concerned about. So as a future of the Democratic Party, my question is, where do you see it going? How do you see young people getting more involved? How do you see us mobilizing people? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. The Democratic Party has to recognize that at some point in time we have to pass the torch to. But we also have the responsibility to help show you the way and be able to be flexible enough to change. The American Constitution is a living document. And it's a living document because they knew, the forefathers knew that as progress came, it needed to be adjusted. And we have to be the same way. My generation, Chris, I had to say, I was a baby boomer too. Our world is different than from yours now. You know, we have the old cliches that we didn't have call waiting, voicemail, 3 channels, right?
That's enough.
Sorry. Some was wordable. Put it out. But we have to recognize that you come from a different place. And we care about it. My father and my mother, they came from a different place. My mother, she was born in Tennessee. She walked to school while white kids spit on her and threw rocks. My father served in the United States Air Force in Vietnam. Purple Heart went out. He couldn't stay in the same barracks or the same hotel when he was on TDY. I didn't have to experience that. And now you don't have to experience that because of what they did to get us to this point. So the Democratic Party has to listen to you, but we have to help guide you. And so both sides have to say, hey, we're gonna invest in each other. Now, your responsibility is to stand up and have your voice heard. Don't sit back, stand up, because that's what they did in the past. Just like this young lady did here. We can agree or disagree, but she stood up. So stand up for what you believe in, make your voice heard.
And vote. Vote.
I would say, in my experience in 2020, it was a youth movement, and the U of A played a huge role in what we were looking for in a new form of justice for Pima County. But then it can't just be about the race. It has to be what you do when you walk into office as well. And so I placed someone from Gen Z firmly on my senior leadership team. He was a U of A student. Still 20 at the time, Patrick Robles, and I placed him right. On my senior leadership team because if we don't have that voice literally at the highest table of power, then we're missing huge amounts of information that we can't be deaf to. And so I'm so grateful for you to be here. You're more than welcome. You are our partners in the fight ahead of us, and we can't wait to keep partnering with you.
Yes.
You're already leading, Victoria, by showing up. You're already doing tons of important work. There's going to be tons of campaigns happening. I'm serious. I started as a young person, 20 years old, volunteering for campaigns of people that I felt made a difference. So get involved, show up, and you're already doing it. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Yes.
One more question, Laura. Burkhart?
Yeah. Hi, thank you for taking the time to answer this. My name is Laura Burkhart. My mom was the one who spoke before. I am starting, I just got a full-time job as a school social worker. I've been working in Title I schools. I got hired at a Title I school. I work with a lot of kids who, are have ADHD, are low income. So I have a question about the Department of Education. I'm just really worried about it in general, specifically funding and enforcement for Title I schools, like the funding, as well for the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So I just wanted to ask, like, what is going to happen with the programs, this department, and also, as you guys are currently in Congress, what is something that the three of you can do as people in Congress to help support disabled students and support people from low-income families?
First off, thank you for your career in public education, particularly support our special needs students. My sister, Maria, my younger sister, 32 years as a special education teacher in the Cartwright district in Maryvale in the Phoenix area. Special ed teachers are a special group of people, so we are the dismantling of the Department of Education is 100% illegal. The Department of Education was created by Congress. It was not created by this president. The fact that he and Elon Musk say they can unilaterally dismantle it is completely illegal. That's being challenged right now, and it deserves to be challenged. As you know, the main purpose of the Department of Education is to fund Title I schools, the lower income areas, including where we're having this event right now. So the Title I schools mentioned earlier, and that funding is critical to make sure that those students have as much of a chance as anyone to get a top quality education and advance in their lives and careers. Second is exactly as you mentioned, special education, funding for special education programs, which you know personally just how critical that is for those students and for the entire student body. But you know what else they do in the Department of Education? Pell Grants. To give so many students an opportunity to first time also family.
Yeah.
And of course, University of Arizona and ASU, which happens to be in my district, don't move. And NAU, of course, how many students get that opportunity to attend college because of the Pell Grant program? And this idea that somehow you can grant that money, you can dismantle the Department of Education and grant that money to the states. We know exactly what that means. Number one, it means a massive, under the best of circumstances, a massive cut to our support for public education. And in Arizona, if we give that money to Tom Horn, that means tragically additional voucherization of public education in the state of Arizona. We ain't going there, and that's why number one, we're going to win this lawsuit because this is totally illegal what is happening, and we're going to make this. If they try to do this, if the Republicans won't stand up and push back on this particular issue, they dismantle USAID, they're trying to dismantle Social Security. If they dismantle the Department of Education, they're going to pay a massive political price. The American people will not put up with that, and that is one of the key elements of our budget.
Yes. Vote.
What really frustrates me right now is to see this administration targeting many of our most vulnerable Americans. And the way they're going after first violating the due process rights of immigrants, disappearing people on the side of the streets, me tell you something. Anton Scalia said this, that if you are in the United States, citizen or not, you have a right to due process.
Yeah.
But they think they could attack them because they're marginalized people. Let's attack their rights. They're going after LGBTQ Americans, specifically trans Americans, in the most vile ways, whipping up issues. There are more children right now sick with the measles in Texas than there are trans kids in the NCAA trying to play sports. It is such a vilification to focus again on a vulnerable population. And then you're targeting the supports that we have as a society for our incredible, beautiful children with disabilities. And to me, we are a society that, just like I said with healthcare, we have not done our societal responsibility to support the public education of K-12 kids with disabilities. We have not stepped up and done what we should do. And now we're threatening these rights. Frederick Douglass said this clearly. To me, this is callous, cruel, and it also marks more of tyrannical societies than democratic ones that understand the importance of being there for all Americans, understanding that we're all in this together. I will tell you right now, the biggest poverty I'm worried about, and I've been fighting against child poverty, which I think is a moral obscenity. That's why I was proud to stand with some of my colleagues and get the expanded tax credit that cut the child poverty rate in half in our country, that showed once and for all that child poverty in America is not an inevitability, it is a policy choice. And Mark said so clearly that way back in the Obama days, that tax rates on the wealthiest Americans were a lot higher, and it was one of the times that the wealthiest Americans were the best. Stock market doubled during the 8 years of that. But poverty that I'm most worried about in this country is a poverty of empathy. It's our inability to see each other, to understand each other's needs, to understand that families that have children with disabilities, they are our brothers and our sisters, and in many ways, they are a part of who we are. So I want to end just with this. In my last town hall in New Jersey, there was a young man named Joseph. This is why I love the power of social media. This video on our platforms has been seen millions of times. His mother came in to speak for him and said at the end of her remarks about her son with autism that he has terrible anxiety in front of people, but he insisted on coming to this town hall, and he had something he wanted to read. His voice shook and was halting, but the strength in his words, demanding that we protect the programs in Medicare and Medicaid that support his efforts to live independently. He spoke so strong. We now have to understand that we have an obligation to speak up, to stand up, to rise up, to lift up the voices of our brothers and sisters, to make sure that no president with a cabinet full of billionaires and an out-of-control richest man in the world like Elon Musk, that these are not the folks that their callous and craven cuts to programs where everyday Americans are successful. We now have to show again and again and again that in this democracy, we won't tolerate it and exercise our power to stop it. The way we stop this is not by condemning people, it's by beginning to expand their empathy by telling these stories to more people, not just the people that we agree with, but calling to the conscience of our neighbors to say, enough is enough. Because this room is full, other rallies have been full, but we're still not at that tipping point yet. We need to get more Arizonans, more New Jerseyans to say, this is the United States of America. We say we the people, not just some people, but all the people in our country deserve the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
So perfectly said. I think we should leave it there. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I just want to say one more thing. Next year, we celebrate 250 years as a nation. We have a choice to make here with which path we go down. But I do believe, like I think my fellow senator from New Jersey and Congressman Stanton and our district attorney Laura Conover and Robert Branscomb and Gabby Giffords, that we can get back on the right path here. If we fight, we win. So thank you, everybody, for being here tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here today and in the words of the last
everyone. Thank you so much for coming today.
See you.